Going to call the meeting to order today, Monday, June 17th, 2013. Clerk Kornecki, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Davis.
Here.
Trustee Aiello. Trustee Bullfuss.
Here.
Trustee Taglia.
Here.
Trustee Case.
Here.
Trustee Wagner.
Here.
President Bullwinkle.
Here. We can all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. And Chief Pavlicek, would you like to do the honors tonight?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We can all stay standing, please. Trustee Taglia, would you please lead us in a prayer?
Certainly. Our Heavenly Father, will thou be pleased to grant that this meeting, thus begun in order, be conducted in peace and closed in harmony. Amen.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, approval of the agenda. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Madam President,
Trustee Davis,
make a motion to approve the agenda.
do we have a second?
Madam President,
Trustee Bullfuss?
Second.
All right. Questions and comments from the board? Okay, all in favor? Roll call?
Trustee Bullfuss.
yes.
Trustee Taglia.
Yes.
Trustee Case.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Davis.
Yes.
President Bullwinkle.
Yes. Next item on the agenda, Village President's Report, just a few things. Number one, just wanted to give everybody a reminder that we have a town hall meeting on Monday, June 24th, a week from tonight. It will be at the Willowbrook High School Auditorium. It's going to start around 6 o'clock with a quick board meeting prior to the town hall meeting. So if everybody could be there by 6 o'clock, we'll get through our village business, and then we'll get right into the town hall meeting at 6:30. The crux of our town hall meeting is to talk about our road issues, our flooding, our sewer issues, pretty much everything having to do with infrastructure and flooding. So we're going to be bringing the public together to hear your comments and concerns, and then we're also going to come together as a community and a board to come up with some ideas and some solutions. So just wanted to let everybody know that. We would love to see you. And more information about that is on the village website, www.invillapark.com. It's on the homepage under headlines. And then another thing on the agenda I wanted to let everybody know about is we have Summerfest coming up. I'm not going to go into great detail because I think some of our other trustees might go into more detail later, but it's Friday, June 21st and Saturday, June 22nd. So please mark that on your calendar. It's our annual community event that everybody comes together. There's bands, there's food, there's a lot of entertainment, and just a lot of fun things for families and kids. So just want to let everybody know that's coming up. And that is basically all that I have under my President's Report. There's a Hawks game on tonight, so I know guys want to get home in time for the game. So we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda. Oh, and by the way, just FYI, Trustee Aiello is not here tonight. He had to work, so just let everybody know that. Next item on the agenda is public... Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Commission? Oh, that's right. We do have one more thing. I'm so sorry. We have the Senior Concerns Commission that would also like to say a few words. So if Irene Schaefer could come up, along with anybody else from the commission, I'm sorry for omitting that. I had that I had another place on my notes, but come on up. Now's a good time to do it. So.
Well, my name's Irene Schaefer, and I think there's only two of us here today. Bob Allen.
Okay.
And there are more members. There's a Avis Rada, Sal Aiello, Barbara Summers, and I don't know if they're here. If you are, I called you. Come on up. Okay. All right. I just want to mention one thing about the Senior Concerns Commission. We're going to have a picnic this coming Wednesday, and we hope it's not going to rain. It's the 19th of June, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's going to be at the gazebo on Ardmore Avenue on the Prairie Path. And we're going to have a barbecue, which will have hot dogs and hamburgers, and various games like horseshoe toss and whatever else you want to toss. We'll have different games. We are also having live musical entertainment, which will be provided by, they're called Chapter 1, Windy City Harmonica Club. And they really sound very good, and I think it'll be nice events. So we encourage all seniors to come out and have a good time. And I understand seniors are now at 55 and up. Is that what it is? I think. So if you're 55, I guess you could come out there, okay? And there's no registration, and I think we'll have a good time. I think Bob Allen wants to say something too, so I'll let
Okay.
him be at the podium right now.
Sure.
I thought I was going to be on first because my name starts with A and I've been used to it for years. And also, President Bullwinkle, when we talked last week, told me I had 45 minutes to speak. But I guess that's been pulled too. But we do
Not
have,
tonight.
we do have quite a connection with the trustees here. Trustee Taglia is our sponsor and liaison. We also have a communication problem with him. We meet once a month. He thinks we meet once a year. So Bob, we'd like to see you at more of our meetings, okay?
Wow.
We're also well represented on the trustee boards by Trustee Bulfus and lately Trustee Wagner. And I understand President Bullwinkle now allows you to go home at 9 p.m. after all meetings so that you can catch up on your sleep. Seriously, though, we want you all to come out. We need some help. President Bullwinkle has volunteered to be in charge of weather. We need somebody to take care of our valet parking. The seniors come with walkers and canes, and somebody has to be there to greet them, so I hope one of the trustees will be there. And we're also going to need people to help out with cooking and cleanup, and I think it's a good way for the village and the trustees to interact with the community and get some input. But that's my 45 minutes, Deb. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you, Bob. So June 19th, it's a Wednesday, correct, for your picnic, 10 to 2. All righty, great. And where will that be? Where will you hold your picnic again?
Gazebo on the Prairie Path.
At the gazebo in the Prairie Path. Okay, wonderful. I'm planning on attending, so looking forward to that. Okay, now that concludes my president's report. Okay. Next item up on the agenda, number 5, public comments on agenda items. This is in regards to items 5 through 13. If anybody in the audience has anything on your mind in regards to items 5 through 13, please take the podium and try to limit your comments to 3 minutes. Do we have anybody? Okay, then we'll move on to item number 6, presentation of TOD overlay zone for the train station by Leslie Oberholzer from Farr and Associates. Patrick Grill, our Director of Community Development, is approaching the podium.
Yes.
You want to do a quick intro,
I'll
and
do a
we'll
quick
get this
intro.
party started.
Sure, absolutely. Back in March, the Planning and Zoning Commission held a public hearing on the TOD overlay zone, which is an area around the train station that is proposed to be an overlay to the existing zoning which exists out there. The P&Z made a unanimous recommendation on that, and tonight we're going to be presenting some snippets of that process. It was a lengthy process that began last year. There was a steering committee that was formed that provided recommendations and throughout the process. But the process was financed through a grant, a generous grant through the Regional Transit Authority. And at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Tony Mano with the RTA.
So,
I'll
thank
be
you.
brief as well.
That's okay.
Good
No
evening,
problem.
everyone. I'm Tony Mano with the RTA. If you're not familiar with Regional Transportation Authority, we oversee Metra, PACE, and CTA. Excuse me, and we are the regional planning arm, regional finance arm of public transit in the region. One of the main things we do in the planning department is fund transit-oriented development studies, of which the village of Villa Park was the recipient, I believe, in 2005, 2006, and you completed that plan. And what my job is to lead efforts to help communities actually implement these plans. There are a lot of great recommendations in these plans, and we like to stay on and provide some continued support to communities so they can actually move these plans forward. And one of the largest things that we do actually with a grant from the federal government is to provide funding to communities for zoning updates. This is not an RTA effort in the fact that we have any sort of zoning agenda. We just like to actually just be the money folks, I guess you could say, provide you the money so you can take a look at your TOD area, which is about a quarter mile around the train station, and see if there are ways you can update your zoning to attract development. So I wanted to come this evening to introduce Leslie and to also thank you very much for your hard work over the past year. It's been a joy to work with the community. Now there's some folks that are up there tonight that helped us out a lot. We really appreciate your input because this is something for the community that we want to make sure that you take ownership of and make sure that this is something you want in your downtown or your metro station area. So I just wanted to say that it's been a joy to work with everybody, and we hope that this actually attracts development in your downtown metro station area, so more people can get on the train and we can continue to fund these types of projects. So with that, I will turn it over to Leslie. So thank you very much.
So good evening, and thank you for having me. Tony's right. A joy is a great way to refer to this process. We had a really great working group. Tony was on it, and I feel like this is not the full list. Actually, I think there were some people that were actually added. But what I wanted to do tonight was just to sort of walk you through the document a little bit. I think you have it in front of you. I'm not going to read you the whole thing. I'm just going to kind of walk you through the pieces of it that I think are most important, give you a sort of sense of the organization of it, so that it's a little bit easier for you all to understand what's going on with it. So as Tony said, 2006, the station area plan was really the starting point for all this. We took that document to kind of jettison us to zoning more quickly than we normally would be, taking a step back and going through another master plan process. I think it's a really great document. It had a lot of good information in it, and I think that the working group felt like it was a good document moving forward as well. Here is the land use plan from the document, and you can see that we actually took this land use map and sort of carved out the area that we felt like needed the zoning revisions more specifically. And we'll just kind of turn that on and off. This is the area that probably has the most potential for change. Yeah, it's a little, on the dark wall, it's a little dark. Oh, don't fall asleep on me. So as you can see, the park area that you guys defined and have purchased and are moving forward on was a big part of that TOD concept. And as you can see, there were fairly specific recommendations for the buildings kind of around the park and extending along the rail. Also within the TOD study was a great set of design guidelines that the working group looked at and helped us to make sure that we were incorporating what was most appropriate out of the design guidelines into the actual code. And also the TOD study recommended either one of two options, one doing PUD, which you guys actually have a PUD in your TOD area. But it does suggest that that process is a little bit of a negotiation that may make it a little bit more time consuming for a developer to come in and do something in your community, even though your plan commission is just so great to work with. But option B was to establish a TOD overlay district, and that's precisely what we did with the nice funding from RTA. So what we did was first look at what's in your current zoning for this area. And you can kind of see that there's, the long arms along the rail are R4, residential, and then right around the station area is C2, but then you can see the little carve out of the PUD that you guys approved. And then to the north, extending along Ardmore is also R4. What we found was that there were some really good pieces in place in this existing zoning. Uses information, your signage information, your parking information was actually pretty good. So we did recommend to do an overlay, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. We also had access to the information about the PUD that was approved, Garden Station, and we're able to use these images in an image preference survey that I'll show you in just a minute to get a little bit more community feedback. And this was also sort of a good dry run. We had most of the Plan Commission on our working group, and so it was great to talk to them about what they liked or didn't like about this process, so that we could fold that into the code and make it easier for new projects to come in and get approved. One of the pieces, so when we were looking at your existing zoning, one of the pieces that was is just sort of a little trigger or example of the kinds of things in your existing zoning that were an issue was there's a minimum lot size for the multifamily of 9,000 square feet, even though a good portion, all of the red parcels that you see in this map are not 9,000 square feet, which would mean that any developer would need to come in and aggregate parcels to reach that minimum size. when in fact, you know, the scale of the area might be that you wouldn't necessarily want that super large everywhere. So it was kind of a nice way to look at what your current code is requiring that is pretty difficult for somebody to actually implement at this time. So we did hold a community meeting, and Tony and I were just talking, and we think it was last summer. I don't actually have the date, but it was at the beginning of the process, and we showed quite a few more images than this. But these were, we divided the area up into essentially what's in your two base districts, the C2 or the mixed use area, and then the R4, the multifamily area. In the mixed use area, including kind of the PUD area, these were the top rated images. And you can notice that on the bottom, one of the fifth highest image was one of the renderings from the PUD. This is actually the kind of backside residential and not the mixed use portion of the site, which scored about 2.08. So it did score a little bit lower, and so we talked a little bit about what some of those things might have been to trigger that. But in general, all the kinds of things that you would want to see in your TOD area. We also looked at the lowest rated images, things like blank walls, too massive, maybe too modern, maybe too much color in terms of the yellow top on it. Also, this sort of, the image in the upper right-hand corner is the really wide parkways that you currently have along Ardmore and that northern side, and then fronting them with parking lots and so on. And then in the multifamily, the highest rated images, all images that have entrances and windows on the street, facing the street. The scale, I think, is appropriate, as you can see in all those images. There's quite a mix of appropriate styles and so on, so we wanted to make sure that we were sort of staying away from that in the code. And then the images that scored the lowest, again, blank walls, blank facades, not facing the street, entrances facing the parking lots, and then parking area entrances that are too wide and too long, so that you end up walking along the sidewalk as really walking along a driveway entrance. So then we began drafting the code after the working group looked at these responses, and so I just want to kind of walk you through how the code was set up. So you should have this in front of you if it's too hard to read up there, but it's essentially three sections. The opening section, the introduction, and as you can see, it's numbered to fit within your existing zoning code. The introduction, 25.1, is all about sort of how to use the code, what the site plan approval process, the definitions, all of that kind of intro information. Section 2 is all about building types. Building types is the basis and the organizing structure of this code. That is all about the form of the buildings that will happen within the site. And then the last section is site development standards, things like signage, parking, landscape, streetscape, and also sustainable development measures. And so I'll kind of walk you through those pieces pretty quickly. So as I said, we're proposing an overlay district. That means that your base zoning will stay in place. And all of the kind of green boxes, this is on page 4 of the document that you have, all of those green boxes, the uses, the signage, landscape, and parking, all remain in place. And this design and building form information comes in on top of that. You do have some existing form information, such as, the minimum 9,000 square foot lot, the maximum height of 45 feet within C2. Those kinds of things do result in form, and those get superseded by this document. Does that make sense? And then the second part on page 5, on the facing page, is this sort of comparison of the overlay color coding of the districts on top of what you have in your current code. So in the bottom left-hand corner, your current code, the R4 and the C2 and the PUD, and then what you see color-coded are actually two different types of multifamily on top of the R4. So two different building forms on top of that multifamily use. There's a darker orange and then a lighter orange. We call those TOD Residential Overlay District 1 and 2, and I'll explain the differences in the form for those two locations. And then the purple sits on top of the C2 is the mixed-use building. So that's a multi-story mixed-use building with your park in place. So I just want to show you that note that on page 6, what we did use was your existing zoning certificate process to have a sort of site plan review. So what would happen is if the developer is meeting all of the requirements of the existing code, they would bring in more drawings and illustrations to show all of the different pieces that are required by the code in for a zoning certificate approval without it going to Plan Commission. There are a couple of different pieces in here that define how it could trigger a Plan Commission review, but this idea of this easy approval is meant to make it easier for a developer to come in and get approval. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the districts, so I'm going to show you that map again. So now I'm on page 9 of the document. This table that you see in the bottom left-hand corner on page 9 that I blew up on the left-hand side is the key to the whole code. I'm just going to show you the map just so that you can reference it. But the way that it works is we have the 3 districts, the TOD core, which is the purple, TOD Residential 1 and TOD Residential 2, the 2 different shades of orange. Within those 3 districts, overlay districts, there are 4 allowable building types. And those are the pieces that I'm going to go over with you in just a second. But those 4 building types are the storefront building, the stoop building, the civic building, and the row building. Each one of those is permitted in different ways in the different districts. So TOD core is the storefront building, which is kind of a no-brainer. I think it makes sense. You'd have storefront on the ground floor, multi-story building that allows for residential or office in the upper floors. But it also allows the civic building. The civic building is a building type that is more flexible, that is meant for only civic types of uses, so museums, libraries, those kinds of things. So it's allowing for more flexibility within that district if that's what you end up wanting to approve in that location. But again, only civic types of uses are permitted to use that more flexible building type. The majority of what will happen within the purple will be a storefront building. In TOD Residential 1, we allowed the stoop building, the civic building again, and a row building. The stoop building is a multi-family type of building that has a stoop on the front, an entrance on the front, and certain requirements for transparency or windows on the ground floor and the upper floors. And I'll show you kind of what that looks like in just a minute. The row building is like a townhouse or a row house kind of building. It's a series of smaller single-family buildings together. And I'll show you what that looks like in just a minute. TOD Residential 2 has different scale stoop and row buildings, so different scale apartment or condominium buildings and row house or townhouse kinds of buildings at a different scale because it is adjacent to the residential neighborhoods. And it does not permit the civic building. So the civic building is only permitted in the TOD district, residential district 1 and the mixed use core overlay district. So let's talk a little bit about what those building types look like. The first one is the storefront building, and I'm just sort of blowing that up even though you can't really see it. Again, it is permitted in the TOD core only, so it's only the purple area. And you can see at the very top of this table, it says TOD core in that light gray box. So that lets you know that's the only place it's permitted. And then all those requirements are for the TOD core. The illustrations on the right are one illustration of what could happen, the most likely illustration of what could happen. But the elevation in the bottom right-hand corner is what really triggers what it's going to look like. It's going to have that high level of ground floor glass, a storefront, an entrance on the front, and then a a certain amount of window requirement in the upper floors, a cap on the building. It can have different kinds of caps. This is probably the most likely cap. This is the parapet cap that we illustrated here. Parking is permitted in the rear. The hatches that you see on the section just to the left of the elevation is where parking is permitted. So you have to have occupied space between the street and the parking, which means, you know, you're not going to have parking garage in the upper floors going all the way out to the street. You want eyes on the street. You want people either working or living up there looking out on the street, not parking structure up there. Then in terms of the plan, the parking is shown in the back. So there's a rear parking lot requirement. It's very specific in your code. All of our codes aren't this specific, but your area is very tight and very distinct, and we don't want to interrupt it with any parking lots permitted on the front property line. There are a series of 3 or 4 requirements at the very top of the table that I just want to quickly draw your attention to. Those are the front property line coverage, occupation of corner, and then the build to zone requirements. Those first 3 lines after multiple principal buildings. And what those do is, first, if you have a corner on your site, the building starts at that corner. Then front property line coverage means that you have as much continuous building across that front property line as possible. So you're building what we call in planning and urban design lingo a street wall, which is drawing the pedestrian down the street along the storefronts. And so those are probably 2 of the most important requirements to kind of hold that corner and have that street wall. The front build to zone is a 0 to 5 foot segment, which means you can move the building back and forth just within that 5 foot. And again, that has to do with that continuous street wall along the front of it. You have lots and lots of space in your right-of-way between the street and the building face, so that's a comfortable amount of space to do things like outdoor seating or anything like that. So what we want to do is try to kind of hold that, especially since your right-of-way on the north side of the railroad line is like 97 feet wide. You want to enclose that so the pedestrian feels more comfortable. So just kind of moving down the list just a little bit, we have minimum lot widths, parking location, loading location. Section B, this big chunk is height. We show the height in terms of stories because you want readable stories along the front of the building so that it's a comfortable feel, again, for the pedestrian. There's a section on uses that takes your use information in your existing code and says what you can and can't do on the ground story. And then in section D there, that third section down, that's where we're talking about the facade requirements. This is what makes this more unique than most zoning codes, and this is where we take all those design requirements or design guidelines that were incorporated into your TOD study and fold them into the code where it's most practical. This has to do with the amount of windows that are required on that front facade, where the entrance is, how much blank wall you can have on a street facade, and then things that divide the facade up into a sort of pedestrian proportioning. That's the horizontal facade divisions and vertical facade divisions. We're very flexible on how those can be made, but we do want to see some delineation so that you don't get this just big, giant, long, blank wall that doesn't have any back and forth or separation between it. Then we have a set of roof types that are permitted for all of the buildings, and I'll show you a slide of that. So for each one of the building types, there's a table that's organized very similarly. This image that I'm showing you here, that I'm just kind of popping in here, is what we call the base type or the entrance type. That's another illustration of that ground floor storefront that shows up on a page at the end and has a few more requirements associated with it. So it's just sort of taking that ground floor of that facade and making it three-dimensional to show you how that's illustrated up there. We do ask that that front entrance door be recessed so that the doors aren't swinging out into the street and so on. The next building type is the general stoop, and I'm not going to really walk you through that, except for to say, if you look again in the bottom right-hand corner here on page 17, the difference between the stoop and the main, the storefront building is there is not that requirement for storefront on the ground floor. It can also have a 2.5 or 3 foot raised elevation so that you can have a visible basement. So the ground floor elevation can be raised up, which is not permitted on the storefront building. You want people to be able to walk in and out of the stores at grade. But this building is used more for multifamily apartments. We also typically use it for offices, but in this case, we're limiting it to, it's being used in the R4, so it's only for multifamily. So again, it has its own set of requirements for divisions, vertical and horizontal divisions, for transparency, for number of entrances on the street, for building caps. And is permitted, you can see, in 2 different districts. So you can see that that table has 2 columns to it. One is TOD Residential District 1 and one is TOD Residential District 2. Different scales for those different locations, the different shades of orange. And this is another illustration of that ground floor stoop condition with a visible basement on it, so it can be raised up. And as I said, the Civic building is a much more flexible building. It doesn't use the Build 2 zone, which requires you to build within the front facade within it. It uses setbacks, so it can have more landscape area around it. So if you wanted to create a museum or a library that's sort of floating on the green, you can do so. And then the Row building has its own set of requirements. Again, there's 2 different versions of it, a more intense version and one that has sort of more green space and is lower in scale around it. And as I said, there are a whole series of roof types that are permitted with different pitches and different requirements associated with them. On pages 24 and 25, I kind of skipped over. Pages 22 and 23 have the entrance types or the base types on them that I already showed you. There are 2 pages of what we call general design requirements that have materials, color, windows, awnings, balconies, different requirements for building variety, for changing the materials between the buildings. And those are on those 4 pages illustrated. And then we have a series of site development standards. As I said before, signage and parking, we are using what's in your existing code. But we did give you a series of what we call TOD parking credits that allow you to reduce your parking requirements down if you desire, that have sort of one-to-one exchanges. The TODs typically don't require as much parking, although here in your location you probably do want to have a little bit more parking than you might want in some other place that has all of the uses right in that area that you would need. But those parking credits are included in here so that they can be used if you desire. So exchanges for car shares, exchanges for on-street parking, so that you can reduce what's happening on the site, development site. Then we also created, just because we couldn't resist it, we had this 97-foot right-of-way, so we created a series of sections that show how that right-of-way could be used while still maintaining those existing trees, because they're pretty nice trees. So those are included in the code. I don't know that they need to continue forward in the adopted code, because really this is something that you would use sort of internally to figure out what you want to do with that site. We also, so as you can see, what existing looks like, and then some of the different configurations that we included to allow for on-street parking in different ways, either parallel or head-in. And then we also did it for the south side of the tracks and that right-of-way, and how to really incorporate on-street parking, because on-street parking is the best way to make the pedestrian feel more comfortable. And it's very important to the vitality of the street, especially to allow for teaser parking in front of the retail. So I feel like it's an important part of it. So we created that with the working group. And the last piece that I'm just going to show you on pages 37 and 38 are the sustainable development measures. This is a series, it's a point system that we've included to encourage developers to incorporate sustainability elements into their design. And so this section is sort of a snapshot where we are today in terms of the kinds of things that developers are willing to put into their projects. And we require them to meet a certain level of this. So they have to pick from this menu a series of sustainability elements to incorporate into their projects in order to be approved. And so the kinds of things are incorporation of renewable energy, incorporation of recycled materials, heat island reduction by shading your parking lots or shading you're using reflective roofing materials and those kinds of things. So that's all included there at the end. Again, every development would need to include that to be approved.
Okay, we can turn the lights back on, if you don't mind. Open it up to questions and comments from the board. Anybody have any questions about what we just went through very fast, but thoroughly? Do you have any questions? Trustee Bolfus?
Well, I don't have a lot of questions because I was involved in this from the beginning. And, you know, there was a lot of work put into this by the committee that put together and by planning and zoning, going through some more of the details on what's in here. I think this is an important document for any developer, for the village, to supply anybody or any developer who wants to come in to Ville Park in the train station area and know what we would like to see there. And so that would save a problem of them coming in for a special use or a PUD, like the Golden Spike had to do. Basically, Golden Spike would have been able to build there without coming to P&Z if this document was in place. So we've done a lot of the work for the community development, a lot of the work for the developers, and I thank Fire and Associates for all their work and the RTA for funding this and helps set us off as a community, as a village, for that area around the train station to be developed that much easier and hopefully that much sooner. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anything else to add or comment? Are we good? I just have one quick question. Director Grill, so where do we go from here now? We've got this plan, we figured out the zoning. What's next?
What's next is we'll work with the attorneys to draft an ordinance that would amend the text amendment and then place it on a future agenda for your consideration.
All right, that sounds good. And then while we're talking about the TOD area, if we can just get a really, really quick update on where we're at with the development itself. And that, Trustee Bolfus mentioned Golden Spike, Rick Goldman. I've got Mamie Yee behind you, actually, coming forward, our Director of Economic Development. If you can give us a really quick update, since we're on the topic of TOD, the transit-oriented development area.
Rick Goldman has done a market study, has ordered a market study, which he has then taken and prepared a pro forma statement, which he is now shopping amongst lenders and different developers. He's looking for equity partners as well as financing, and because it's in the $40 or $50 million range, is taking a long time. He has had at least one meeting with one or two, I think two of the, one financier and one equity partner that I have referred to him. So he continues to do that, but it will be a lengthy process.
But we are continuing to move forward with the process. Okay.
We're hopeful that something will occur soon.
Okay, all right. We'll seek some additional updates later on. So, all right, as long as it's moving forward, we've got all this work in front of us. So, all right, great. Thank you, Director.
Can I ask another question?
Yes, please do. Trustee Bolfus.
You know, once we get this all set up, hopefully, and passed by the village board, get this implemented, the next step is to encourage some developers to come to the area. And RTA helped us with this. Is there any help we can get from for enticing development?
I'm glad you asked that question.
Gee, how about that?
We're eager to hear your answer.
You're going to like the answer too, because another effort that the RTA leads for TOD attraction, I guess if you will, is we actually work with the Urban Land Institute, ULI, to bring a developer panel to a community to talk to the community about the realities of the market and to basically provide some guidance and advice on how to move forward and how to attract development. And Patrick's predecessor, I believe, came to us with that request last year through our same program, and we did accept you into our program for this year. So once this project is done, I've talked to Patrick a little bit about this, but the next phone call I would make to him is to start thinking about that. So sometime this year, we would like to bring ULI and some ULI members. It's usually 3 to 5 what we call development experts. They're all ULI members, so they're all working developers or financiers or attorneys or construction folks that are looking for new opportunities, but they also, the folks that work with ULI on these small panels are actually, they want to provide some guidance to communities to maybe set you guys up down the road. So while we're not acting as a broker, so we're not actually going to bring folks down here that might buy something, although that sometimes does happen. It's like sort of outside of our efforts. Some developers do come back and follow up with the community. We do like to bring a panel to one community and spend about half day with you, and you just have a chance to talk to them, show them what you've been doing, talk to them about this and about your upcoming developments, the types of property you own, and sort of your goals and your wishes for how you want your TOD area to develop over the next however many years. And they will provide you with some guidance and some advice. And so far, they've been very successful. They've been very helpful. And I will work with Patrick, and I can actually give you some examples of previous communities we've worked in, and we can send around some of the development panel summaries that we've put together so you can see who. We actually did one in Franklin Park as well. We've done one in Bensonville and Wooddale, so some of your neighbors close by. I would encourage you to talk to them if you want some information on how it went, but these so far have been very successful. So you're actually doing this in the right order, and so that's another reason why we chose you for this assistance as well, because we want to keep working with communities to make this happen, so it's sort of a logical next step. So I'm really glad you asked that question.
Yeah, so am I.
Great. Well, in other words, we got the grunt work done, and the fun is hopefully still coming.
Hopefully.
Yes.
Good. Some other questions? Allow him to... Sure, you can, yes.
I'll make it short.
Yes.
Mike Orlowski, I'm on the P&Z. I was on the RTA steering committee. And just for those that are out there wondering how all this came about, we did have a community meeting at the Iowa Community Center that about 40 to 50 residents showed up at, and pretty much went over all the building designs, the setbacks, the fences, the blank walls, and that's how they came up with everything that they showed you tonight. And that meeting was quite lengthy. There was a lot of people there. And it was mostly all residents that were giving their input on what they would like to see. So just for those that aren't aware of that, there was a lot of community help with that. That's it.
Yes, thank you for that. It's a good point. Anybody else? Questions and comments? We good? Okay. We will move on to item number 7 then. Consider a resolution approving a covenant regarding non-standard pavement in village right-of-way and/or easement at 503 East Park Boulevard. The property owner at 503 East Park Boulevard wishes to install a brick paver driveway, approach extension, and public right-of-way. A covenant regarding non-standard pavement in village right-of-way and/or easement would grant the property owner permission for the proposed construction and address maintenance responsibilities. May I have a motion for the resolution?
Madam President,
Trustee Taglia.
I'll move for the resolution.
Do we have a second?
Madam President?
Trustee Davis.
Second.
Questions and comments from the board? Roll call, please.
Trustee Bolfus?
Yes.
Trustee Taglia?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Davis?
Yes.
President Bullwinkle?
Yes. Item number 8, first reading of an ordinance amending the text of the sign regulations in the Villa Park zoning ordinance regulating electronic message display panels. On Wednesday, April 3rd, 2013, the Community Development Director met with several owners of electronic signs in Villa Park. This meeting was scheduled at the behest of the Village Board prior to their consideration of the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission on electronic signs. Currently, there are 29 electronic signs located in Villa Park and concentrated along 3 principal corridors, North Avenue, St. Charles Road, and Roosevelt Road. Only 5 signs are not located on one of these corridors. May I have a motion on the first reading?
Madam President,
Trustee Bolfus.
make a motion for the first reading.
May I have a second?
Madam President,
Trustee Wagner.
I'll second that motion.
Questions and comments? Board? Anything? Okay. Do a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Taglia.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Case.
Yes.
Trustee Davis.
Yes.
Trustee Bolfus.
Yes.
President Bullwinkle.
Yes. Item number 9 on the agenda, first reading of an ordinance of the Village of Villa Park, DuPage County, Illinois, approving the Villa Park Foreign Fire Insurance Board's final budget for the fiscal year beginning May 1st, 2013, and ending on April 30th, 2014. The Villa Park Municipal Code provides that the officers for the Foreign Fire Insurance Board adopt a final budget for the collection and expenditures of the foreign fire insurance tax. The final budget shall be approved by ordinance by the village board in the same fashion as any other village ordinance. The proposed budget for the fiscal year beginning May 1st, 2013, and ending April 30th, 2014, is presented for review in the amount of $34,627.05. After deliberations are concluded, it is recommended that an ordinance be adopted approving the Villa Park Fire Department Foreign Fire Insurance Board budget for fiscal year 2013-2014. May I have a motion on the first reading?
Madam President,
Trustee Davis?
make a motion.
May I have a second?
Mr. President,
Trustee Bolfus?
second.
Okay. Questions and comments from the board? Roll call, please.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
Trustee Case.
Yes.
Trustee Davis.
Yes.
Trustee Bolfus.
Yes.
Trustee Taglia.
Yes.
President Bullwinkle.
Yes. Item number 10, resolution approving an agreement for ambulance billing services between the Village of Villa Park and Paramedic Billing Services Incorporated. Staff is recommending changing ambulance billing companies to Paramedic Billing Services Incorporated, PBS, located in Elmhurst, Illinois. PBS can increase the collection rate and streamline procedures by utilizing a secure bank account in the name of the village, which would allow for timely and automatic payment posting, the ability to pay by credit card and check, the capability of receiving ambulance reports electronically, and PBS receives weekly patient insurance information from Elmhurst Hospital. Staff is proposing to terminate the contract with Specialty Billing and sign a 3-year contract with Paramedic Billing Services Incorporated, beginning no later than September 11th, 2013. Do I have a motion for the resolution?
Madam President,
Oh, Trustee Wagner.
I'll have to make that motion.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Madam President,
Trustee Taglia.
I'll second the motion.
Do you have any questions and comments from the board? I just have really one quick thing. By switching companies, this will increase our collection rate from about 40% with the previous company to about 70% with the new company. So this will really expedite a lot of the things that we've been trying to do, collections and things of that nature. So this appears to be a pretty good move, so. All right. May we have a roll call, please?
Trustee Case.
Yes.
Trustee Davis.
Yes.
Trustee Bolfus.
Yes.
Trustee Taglia.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
President Bullwinkle.
Yes. Item number 11, resolution approving amended purchasing policies and procedures for the Village of Villa Park, Illinois. The purchasing policies and procedures are designed to aid maximum efficiency and economy in the operation of the village, provide an equal opportunity for qualified vendors to serve village needs, and maintain an adequate system of checks and balances to create accountability for all village purchases. It is recommended that the board adopt the resolution approving the purchasing policies and procedures for the village. May I have a motion on the resolution?
Madam President,
Trustee Davis.
make a motion.
Do we have a second?
Madam President,
Trustee Bolfus.
second.
Questions and comments from the board? Okay. Clerk Kornecki, may we have a roll call?
Trustee Davis.
Yes.
Trustee Bolfus.
Yes.
Trustee Taglia.
Yes.
Trustee Case.
Yes.
Trustee Wagner.
Yes.
President Bullwinkle.
Yes. Number 12 on the agenda, resolution approving purchase card, policy procedures, and vendor agreement. An alternative approach to purchasing products, services, and travel expenditures is the use of a purchase card, or P-card, which will streamline purchasing procedures. It is recommended that the Village of Villa Park adopt the attached Village of Villa Park purchasing card policy and procedures as an addendum to their current purchasing policy, and that the Village of Villa Park enter into agreement with BMO e-Purchasing Solutions, PFM Financial Services LLC, and Bank of Montreal with a branch in Chicago, Illinois. There is no startup cost for this program, and they will provide training, administrative support, and card services for the purchasing card program. May I have a motion for the resolution?
Madam President,
Trustee Bolfus?
make a motion for the resolution.
Do we have a second?
Madam President,
Trustee Taglia.
I'll second.
Questions and comments from the board? Roll call vote, please.
Trustee Bolfus?
Yes.
Trustee Taglia?
Yes.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Davis?
Yes.
President Bullwinkle?
Yes. Item number 13, resolution approving the purchase of a new fire department vehicle from the Suburban Purchasing Cooperative, which is a 2013 Ford SUV Police Interceptor vehicle. It is the recommendation of the fire chief to retire 2 Crown Victorias, both 1999 and 2002 respectively, from the fire department fleet and replace them with one fuel-efficient 2013 Ford SUV Police Interceptor all-wheel drive. This vehicle will be housed at Fire Station Number 3. One of the 2 Crown Vics would be sent to auction and the other will be repurposed for village use. The 2013 Ford would be purchased from Curry Motors Fleet at a price of $25,254. Do we have a motion on the resolution?
Madam President,
Trustee Davis?
make a motion.
Do we have a second?
Madam President,
Trustee
I'll
Taglia?
second the motion.
Questions and comments from the board? Roll call vote.
Trustee Bolfus?
Yes.
Trustee Taglia?
Yes.
Trustee Wagner?
Yes.
Trustee Case?
Yes.
Trustee Davis?
Yes.
President Bullwinkle?
Yes. Item number 14, village clerk's report. Clerk Kornecki, do you have anything for us tonight?
No reports, thank you.
Okay. Number 15, unfinished business, none. Item number 16, new business, none. Item number 17, public comments on non-agenda items. If we have anybody in the audience that would like to come and speak on a non-agenda item, please come forward. And state your name for the record, and sign in right there. We have a paper and pen there for you.
Hi, my name is
Hi.
Tricia Barth.
Try to keep it to 3 minutes if you can.
Okay, no problem.
What's on your mind?
I had to write this down because otherwise I'll get too nervous. So, here goes. I'm here as a concerned citizen of Villa Park, just hoping someone has an answer and can clarify what I have been hearing around town this past week. I understand that Summerfest and the ribbon cutting for the new skate park and playground at Iowa Center is on the same day, which is this Saturday. I do feel this is extremely poor planning on someone's part, not only because residents have to choose, but because both are wonderful events. It is unfortunate that many of the citizens who volunteered for the new park also, of course, are volunteering at Summerfest, so they will not be able to attend the grand opening. I find it even more unfortunate that Paulina, the woman behind this park, will also not be attending the grand opening. She has her daughter's birthday party that morning and has signed up months ago to volunteer at Summerfest. All of this aside, because I've known all of this, I am now hearing that past trustees, our former village president, volunteers who have been out there digging, planting, moving mulch, and most importantly, the companies that have donated thousands of dollars worth of material have also not been formally invited to this event on Saturday. I also just have to ask, because I was on the Parks and Rec Commission a couple years ago, is why on earth would you put Marlin in the position to have to get ready for 2 big events in one day? I have something else, but I'm out of it. So I don't, do you comment on my thing?
Director Greg Gola, our Director of Parks and Recreation, probably would like to say a few words. So,
great.
yeah. Greg, if you can come forward and maybe shed some light on this subject
Sure,
for us.
thank you. As you know, when we first broke ground, there was questions at the board meeting on when the park was going to be finished, and it was early to mid-June. So we were actually ahead of schedule, except for the rain that occurred in April. Our thought process, because we've gotten a lot of questions on when the park was going to open, is to open as soon as possible. As a matter of fact, we had the security fence around the park, and the police department was doing a very good job keeping the kids out. They were hopping the fence and skating. And so what we did was decide to do a soft opening on Memorial Weekend. And the first available weekend to officially open the park was this Saturday. The thought process as far as Saturday with Summerfest was, Summerfest lasts till 10 o'clock. Hopefully people can come out and, get a half hour in of the ribbon cutting and then go to Summerfest and enjoy the rest of the day.
Unfortunately, some of the volunteers that have volunteered for the park are also volunteering for Summerfest, but our thought process again was just to open the park as soon as possible. As far as Marlin is concerned, basically the planning or his crew's time for Saturday at the skate park is minimal. It's basically the routine maintenance, getting the park ready. So most of his crew is focusing on Summerfest. So as far as crews are concerned, because he's short-staffed, there's minimal amount of crew time involved with the opening, grand opening.
When do the festivities start at the skate park?
10:30, and they go till about noon, so it's about 2 hours. I don't have the schedule in front of me. I think it's 11:30 for the actual ribbon cutting, which will take all of 5 minutes. And I know, unfortunately, some of the volunteers that helped with both projects aren't going to be able to attend, and that's a shame. But again, our thought process was to get the park officially open as soon as we could. And with the pressure we begin to open up the park, this is the first available date.
If you have one more question, sure. While we have Greg here. No? Do you have any other feedback in terms of the vendors or how you came to be in terms of the list and whatnot that you were reaching out to?
With the vendors, I had sent Polina the official, I think you were included on that email, them, the official invitation. Polina wasn't involved with getting a lot of donations. The Recreation Department wasn't, so I didn't have the vendor list, and so we didn't officially offer, I didn't have that information for the vendors that helped out.
Okay. Well, perhaps we can talk a little more offline about this, as we move forward, but.
Sure.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add before we move on, or? Okay.
You have any questions?
Questions or comments? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Anybody else with public comments on non-agenda items? Hi, state your name for the record and sign in.
John Squeal, Far North Side, resident of Oak Park. Resident with very good streets, by the way, on the north side of Oak Park. Something you don't always hear. We'll start out first by saying that the boardroom looks very nice, as well as the Iowa Community Center. I've been going by, everything looks great. I just want to share a little information for the public and throw a comment out to my VFW here in 1 minute. Spring is here, love is in the air, and love is in the air for your dogs as well. Your dogs may tend to roam from your home this time of year. I've seen a lot of lost pet signs in my local vet and around town. I just wanted to say that anybody in Illinois, there is a service available called lostdogsillinois.org. It's a free service, and should you succumb to this problem of losing your pet, check out this website, lostdogs.org. Illinois, very helpful. It'll help you out. It's quite a traumatic experience and no cost to you, and it could help you out. As far as my local VFW, an action taken here back in April, they welcomed a canine military dog into the VFW, Nero. And this is from an organization called SaveTheVet.org. And a great organization. To see something like this in my town just warms my heart so much that it's hard to explain. It really. These dogs, this organization has been helping to change their status from equipment to military veterans and helping them get proper benefits and, uniting them with veterans. I sent some information to Trustee Tagley about a month or so ago. They're finding these dogs are suffering from the same thing as humans do, post-traumatic stress syndrome, obsessive compulsive disorder, and this is really a cool thing, and to see SaveTheVet.org involved here in town is really great. I appreciate it. One more thing. I attended a fundraiser last month for a great organization called the Dog Saving Network, and I'm going to be providing this information to the Pride Commission for their Paws on the Path event. I think it would be really great to get this organization here. This is a gentleman who took his training methods with Dolphin Performing Shows and took his training methods and used them with animals. There's opening a rescue and awareness center in Chicago. They've been featured on NBC News with Brian Williams. They have trick dogs. I already talked to him, and they're interested in coming here. They have Noodles, the Wonder Dog, who has his own Facebook page. I think some of the things they have, you'd be amazed and really entertained. The people in Villa Park, I think, would love it. They have doggy game shows. And I've been spreading the word about this event around town. I would suggest, after I give this information to Brighton, I would suggest the village, you might want to start advertising this on your website fairly soon. I talked to a lot of vendors, and they're very interested in coming. They're not familiar with it, and they're looking for other outlets. They can't afford some of the bigger venues anymore, and they're actually willing to pay. And this organization here, the Dog Saving Network, will actually advertise your business, give away prizes. Really, really interesting thing. They're quite popular, and I told them I would spread the word about them. And I think Villa Park would really enjoy it. It's really cool. Okay? So
Thank you, John.
that's all.
Appreciate
No
that.
complaints tonight, but don't be coming. Thank you.
It's okay, too, but thank you for coming forward. Anybody else with non-agenda items?
Yeah, Mike Orlowski. As far as the grand opening of the skate park, I think it's a bad idea, as a resident myself, being involved as far as volunteering, and then you do a soft opening, I understand that. But to do the grand opening without a better plan than what they have, I think is a huge mistake. You have all the people that volunteered that actually made this happen, the vendors that donated money to actually build the park. They're not invited. And to me, in essence, you need to make sure that the people that volunteered are able to be there. I think it's a bad choice. That's it.
Thanks, Mike. Anybody else? Non-agenda items? You good? Okay. Moving on to item number 18, Village Manager's Report. We have our Public Works Director, Vitas Jaskalis, sitting in for our Village Manager, who is out of town this week, so I meant to mention that earlier. So, Vitas, do you have anything for us tonight?
No, I have no report.
Okay. All right. Number 19, Village Attorney's Report.
No report.
All righty. Number 20, Village Trustees Report. We'll start to my right. Trustee Bolfus, do you have
Nothing
anything
tonight.
for us tonight? Okay.
Nothing.
All right. Trustee Taglia?
Okay, before, I have a couple things to announce, but would it be possible to change the grand opening for the skate park, or it's just, could we do another one and invite, maybe if we had another event where we could invite the sponsors and all the volunteers?
Yeah,
or
that's a good
have a
point.
special event maybe for the sponsors and the volunteers?
That's a great point. We can't change the date, unfortunately, because we've advertised, and we're gonna go through with it. But that's a good point that you had brought up, Trustee Taglia, about maybe doing another special thank you for all the volunteers and all the people that donated. We'll do a special event just for those people.
Yeah, that- I think
Point is
that
just to
would
get
go
the
a long
park
way.
open. There's a lot of people out there that are using it already, but yeah, I agree that we should do a special thing for those.
And Greg, we understand, I know that a lot of things are getting done quickly now, so hopefully we have more overlapping grand opening problems. I mean, it's something we could definitely do something to make it better, but
We can certainly do something for everybody that volunteered and everybody that donated money or items and that type of thing, so we can do another.
well, thank you very much, Mr. Gold. All right. Let's see, I have, of course, Summerfest, as we all know, is this weekend after the grand opening of the skate park, so if you can do both. Summerfest will be Friday and Saturday. Friday night, music and a beer tent, and then Saturday will be all the games and the rides for the kids, so please come on out. And while you're at Summerfest, stop by the Villa Park Masonic Lodge. They're going to sponsor a community blood drive. Upstairs, it'll be from 9 a.m. till 1 p.m. You can make a reservation at www.redcross.com, or you could call Kevin Patrick at 630-336-6544 and make reservations to donate blood. Also, at the same time, the Villa Park Masons will be sponsoring an ILCHIP event. That's a child identification program, and it's no cost. They put together a kit for the parents, and there's several materials in there that help identify your child, God forbid they get lost. There's a DVD that's given to the parents. It's an interview with your child. It shows their voice print, their body language, their characteristics. It includes a DNA swab that the parents actually have to do, and they put in an envelope. It's a DNA swab of the child's cheek. That goes into the envelope with the DVD. Also, we use the oldest form of positive ID, a fingerprinting card, and it's something I had done with my kids when they were smaller. Kept that in the back of the safe. It's something I think is a valuable tool, especially law enforcement. Like I said, God forbid our children become lost. It's a very valuable tool for parents to have. Again, it's free of cost. It's sponsored by Villa Park Masons. It'll be going along in conjunction with the blood drive. So please, if you're available, stop by the lodge. It's right across from the gazebo. Okay, I think that's the extent of it.
Thank you, Trustee Taglia. Trustee Case?
Nothing tonight.
Okay. To my right here, Trustee Davis, do you have anything?
Yeah. Sorry, ladies. I don't even know what to say about all that. It upsets me that especially Paulina won't be able to make it. That's the one key person, because Elle and I are pretty much the only ones on the board back then, and no way, no how will we get a skate park, and that lady pulled it off. So we got to make sure that we do something proper for these people. So I personally want to say sorry for the errors. Other than that, that's it, Madam President.
Thank you, Trustee Davis. Trustee Wagner?
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to report that I attended the Parks and Rec Advisory Commission meeting on June 11th, and Tina Giannopoulos was elected chair, and Angie Rojek was elected vice chair. They will not have a meeting in July, but they will have a meeting in August, and they're planning to do some goal setting in that meeting. So promise to pass along their goals to the village board. The Environmental Concerns Commission, I mentioned this at the last meeting, they will have a booth at Summerfest on Saturday. They're having a drawing for a rain barrel. They're going to be doing a survey, and they'll also be offering community bike ride T-shirts for a donation, which will go to the community bike ride. Also, on Friday, June 14th, I participated in Bike to Work, and part of my commute was I started out at the bike rally at Daly Center downtown. It was really exciting to see the hundreds of bicyclists in Daly Center, and it's really inspiring to see the commitment the city of Chicago has made towards infrastructure, separated bike lanes, even traffic signals for bicyclists downtown. And not just the city of Chicago, but other suburban communities have done it as well. And it's just something that I would like to see the village look at. You know, it would be, more and more people are commuting by bike, and if we can make it safer for them and make it more enticing for them to do that, I think that's an important thing. So I just want to mention that. And so far as the transit-oriented development, I was very excited by that, and it really captures your imagination, and looking forward to great things happening with that development. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right.
Madam President?
Yes, Trustee
I
Taglia.
did omit one very important item. If
Go
I
for
could
it.
Please have
Yes, please.
I'd like to announce, okay, the Senior Concerns Commission meets every month. That is true. They meet on the first Monday at 2:30 p.m. at the Community Recreation Building at 320 East Wildwood. So if you're a senior, 55 and up, come on out, see what's the concerns in town, and I'll be seeing you at the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Okay, with that, we have nothing else tonight, no other last-minute announcements. I'd like to make a motion for adjournment.
Madam President.
Ooh, arm wrestle here. Trustee Davis.
Big motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second?
Madam President,
Trustee Taglia.
I will second the motion.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Take care, everybody. Our next meeting will be the Town Hall meeting on Monday, June 24th, Willowbrook High School Auditorium. Thank you.